So you're looking for a place to host your WordPress website? Well, in this video, I want to show you why you may want to consider using SiteGround. Yes, they are today's sponsor, but I had a great time using them. They are actually my favorite WordPress hosting provider. And in this video, I want to show you why that's the case. Now, when you pick a hosting provider, it's not only about the hosting, it's also about the related services that you're going to need. You will need some kind of email service. You will need some kind of backup service. You may want to use a website builder. You want to have some customer support at some point, probably. So there's a bunch of services and tools that you will need. And previously in the past, you had to glue together these tools yourself. And one of the main reasons why I like SiteGround is that they provide these tools in one platform. So I only have to log into one dashboard. I only have one billing setup. And so I can manage the entire digital presence of a small business, let's say, from one dashboard. So that's personally why I like using SiteGround that much, but there are some other reasons as well. And it works not only for very simple setups, right? Maybe you just need one website, but maybe you are a freelancer or even an agency and you have multiple clients. SiteGround works for that kind of setup as well. So perhaps you just want to start off with a simple setup, but SiteGround allows you to grow into a more sophisticated setup as well. Okay, so I will show you all of that in the video, but maybe you're just looking for a quick way to get started. So let me actually just quickly show you how to set up a basic website here from scratch in SiteGround. If you want, you can use the link in the description. Once you log in, you will see the dashboard right here. Now, I've been playing around with it, so I already have some things here, but let's actually say that we don't have anything yet. We don't have a website yet. We don't have a domain yet, right? This is also something that you will need to look at, right? You can already see we can manage all of that here. But let's actually start from absolute scratch. I'm just going to go to my websites here. You can see I already have some, but you may not see anything here yet, but we want to create a new website. So I'm going to click new website. All right, so here we have a setup wizard basically. So first of all, it's going to try to detect your location. So you probably want this to be the location that is as close as possible to your own users. It's not really about where you are located, it's about where your users are. We want a website to be physically as close as possible to where, or at least the majority of my users are. All right, now when you pick a location, you can actually pick a different one if you have another website. So if you're managing multiple websites, you can pick a different locations for each website in the same plan. So you don't need separate plans or something like that. This is really convenient if you're a freelancer or agency and you're managing multiple clients, multiple websites. With other hosts, you may actually need to purchase separate plans if you want to have a different location, but not with SiteGround. So it's all here in the same plan, different locations. So it actually just picked this one. That's fine with me. All right, so then the website, of course, will need some kind of domain. You may already have a domain. In that case, you can use that. You can use a temporary domain. I will just go with that. However, you can actually register a new domain here as well. Again, previously you had to go to some domain. So you don't have to go to a separate domain provider. This is something we can do from the dashboard here in SiteGround as well. Okay, so I will just go with a temporary here just to show you how all of this works. Maybe you already have an existing project. You can migrate that here. Or we want to start from absolute scratch, and let's actually pick that. Okay, so here we can go with the SiteGround website builder. This is actually new. So SiteGround actually offers two ways to build a website. It's the actual website builder. This is probably the easiest way to get started. You don't have to set up anything with WordPress. It's just all managed here directly in the SiteGround dashboard. But maybe you actually do want to stick to using the actual WordPress dashboard. So we can go with that as well. But let's actually try this website builder first, because maybe you only need a super simple setup. So let me actually show you that as well. I will continue here. And we have some extras here. So yeah, SiteGround CDN. This is really important, especially if you have users various parts of the world. So if you have some users in the US and also Europe, with a CDN, your website can get copied into not only one data center like what we have here, it can also be a data center in some other location. So then the users in that location will also experience a faster website because it's going to be closer to their data center. Now, it's very nice that this comes out of the box here. We also have Let's Encrypt SSL. So we want to have some encryption, some security. We want to have HTTPS. And so the SSL is definitely something that we want to have as well. Okay, complete. All right, it's going to set up my site. We just have to wait a minute or so. All right, so after a minute or so, it is finished. Now we can actually get started building out the website and so on. Let's actually see what we get here. All right, so here we can get started with our website. Now we could start from absolute scratch. However, it is a bit easier to start from a template. So if you have a small business, let's say I have a hotel, I want a new website for my hotel. Yes, I could build it from scratch, but a hotel type of website, probably there are already some templates out there. It's not a very unique business, so there's probably going to be some templates out there that already have some of the typical things that you would need. If you have a very unique website, maybe you want to start from scratch, but typically you want to find something that is already close business and customize it from there. So here they actually do have a hotel template. So let me actually, well, we can preview it. Let's actually see. Okay, so this would be the actual website. Looks good to me. So I will actually click on apply here. All right, so it's been applied. So this is what we have right now. It's nice and responsive here as well. We already have a link here. So if I open this up, you can actually see your website right now. Of course, we can customize the domain here. We just picked a temporary domain, but we now have a nice looking hotel website with just a couple of clicks. Of course, we can customize it if we want, but this is a nice start. All right, so then here in the SiteGround dashboard, we have a couple of options here. So we can click on customize. So if I click on that, we will go to an actual website builder, right? So here I can change the sections, I can change images, I can change the text, I can change the colors, change the links, and just, yeah, so really make the website, really customize the website to look and present the content that I want it to display. And the website builder has a great integration with AI as well. You can select part of the text and helps you edit and write the text, and you can pick a tone of the voice, and so you can easily generate the text that you want on your website, right? So that's what we could do then. Now we can also go to marketing here. So if we want to see where users are coming from, how many views we get every day, let's say, those are the type of things we can do with analytics. We have some options here with Google Tag Manager. We also want to rank well in these search engines like Google. So we want to have our website optimized for that as well. That's one thing we can do here. And we have a sitemap here as well. Also helps with search engines so they know each page they can crawl. Okay, we also have the actual analytics here. So here you can see how many views you got, how many sessions. So one user can have a session, right? So somebody coming to your website that is and maybe clicking around for 10 minutes, that's one session. They may view 5 pages in that session. So one user, one person can have one session and have multiple page views in that one session. You will get a more detailed view here as well. This is very important because you will see where the people are coming from. So if you see that there's a lot of people coming from some kind of Google keyword, and that is something that you may want to invest more in. Also, if you write blog posts, let's say, you will see which type of blog posts are performing better to draw people in versus other ones. We have some other data here as well. All right, so we have settings here as well. So if you have a different time zone or a site language, perhaps we can manage that here as well. Okay, so this is the individual website view, you could say. If I go back to my account, under websites, you will see all of your website, right? So I was already playing around with it before. This is the one that we just created though. So what we just used was the website builder here offered by SiteGround. It's probably the easiest way to get started. So they have some nice professional templates. They even have an AI assistant to quickly generate the content, the text on your page, for example, or rephrase them, reword them. And there are some built-in tools to just basically get a quick start. Maybe that's all you need. All right, and if I want to go back to the settings, I can click on Site Admin here, where we basically get the dashboard for this particular website. Okay, so this is the website builder. All right, so let's actually try building another one. And this one is going to be using the actual WordPress option. So let's actually go to temporary domain here again, but again, all right, so let's just go with a new website here. And now let's actually use WordPress here because maybe I do want to use WordPress or WooCommerce, or one of my clients wants to use WordPress, right? So here we need to generate a login so we can log into the dashboard. Let's use, all right, and I have a password here. Let's see. All right, so here for WordPress, they recommend a couple of options here. So a scanner and a premium one. I will just go with the basics though, so I will say no thank you. All right, so we at some point probably also want to do email marketing. Email is probably one of the most important parts of your digital presence because it allows you to directly contact your customers or leads or anyone that you have their email of, which is unique. There's no other channel essentially that allows you to do that at that scale. So email marketing is very important, and So I'll show you more about email in a second, but that's also something we can pick here. All right, let's finish the setup here. All right, so then it's going to take a minute or so again to set up the website. All right, so then after 2 minutes or so, we have our website ready again. Let's go to the website's overview here. So here we now have a new one. So now it's called Site Tools. This is a bit different. So if you take a look here, we get basically a, cPanel-like view here. This is all in the SiteGround dashboard still. So here we can manage our WordPress instance. Now we can set up WordPress in here actually. So we can install a new WordPress instance, or if you're building an e-commerce website with WooCommerce, you can do that here as well. Now you can see there's already an installation here for this URL. So we can actually already go to the admin panel. Let's take a look. All right, so here we have our website, and initially it has a setup wizard here, also from SiteGround when you go to the admin panel. So if you quickly want to get started here, you can go with some of these options here. Let's say we're building some kind of yoga website. I can pick health and fitness. There are some default themes out of the box as well. And if you want to use one of those templates, you could pick that. And then here we can decide what kind of features we want on the website. So there are some typical features that you would typically often use. So like a contact form, very important. This may actually be the main way that you get customers to get in contact with you. This is the default here. You may have some kind of shopping feature. Doesn't necessarily have to be a full-blown e-commerce website. You may just have some smaller shopping feature. Maps is very important. If you have a physical location and people need to find your place. If you have photos and you want to display them in a gallery, you can use that here. And if you have customers or viewers in multiple countries or they speak different languages, we can also translate the text on our website. However, I will just go with a contact form here. All right, so let's talk about marketing. So we want to have analytics. We need to see where people are coming from. We need to see how long they stay on the website, or if they are confused by something, or we can learn a lot from how people interact with our website. SEO is still very important. People need to be able to find your website in the first place. We also want to get subscribers for emails. Right, so we want to be able to directly contact our customers, and we can do that through email. So this is something we may want to add as well. If you are collecting leads or you want some CRM-like functionality here, we can do that here as well. Okay, I will just complete here. All right, so then it's really going to set up the WordPress instance with the options that we picked. All right, so after a minute or so, the actual WordPress instance is ready. I will just exit the wizard for now, and we can immediately go to the WordPress admin dashboard. So let's actually view our website. So actually I picked an adventure template here, but it doesn't matter. You can pick the template that suits you. So this is my website right now. And this is the familiar WordPress admin dashboard where we can manage everything, our posts, content, our media, and there are some default plugins installed, right? So this also depends on the options that you picked. So if we take a look at the plugins here, by the way, we have a plugin here for the page builder, for security. This is actually a SiteGround plugin, and this one as well. So there are some SiteGround specific plugins, but you can customize this in pretty much any way that you're used to. So this is also a very quick way to get started with WordPress. Now, outside the actual WordPress admin dashboard, we still have a dashboard here in SiteGround itself as well. All right, so I've spoken to some people at SiteGround, and they tell me that they've spent a lot of time talking to customers and collecting feedback before coming up with the control. And I think that's why it actually is a really good one. Very intuitive, and it's very easy to navigate here. And there are a bunch of more geeky tools and features that are pretty easy to understand, even if you're not really tech savvy. So here we can manage some other things. So for example, email account. We can see how many resources our website is taking up. We can manage things like our domain. We can have a database here as well. We have some security related options here. For example, maybe I only want to allow people to connect over HTTPS. We have some speed options here. Here we have our domain options. We have email options here, and statistics, and also some more technical for developers. Cron jobs maybe actually be really interesting. You can run something every few hours, let's say, or once a day. You have some script. All right. So there's a bunch of options. So let me actually go through them here one by one so you understand the full power that SiteGround offers you. By the way, you can also do Command K if you want to check for, let's say, SSL or HTTPS and force, if you already know what tool you're looking for. But let's actually go through here. So here, first option here, we have site. So here, a WordPress website is still just a bunch of files essentially. You can see we have a bunch of files here. If you want to change that, you can do that right here. If you are persisting data, you probably want to use a database, and there are some options for that here as well. But typically you want to be quite careful with what you're doing here. What I like about SiteGround actually is they make backups super easy. So backup is actually really important because even if you're experienced, sometimes things will go wrong. And it's really nice if you can just go back to what was working before with just a few clicks. So we want to make backups so that we can go back whenever we want. Now you can see all sites come with automated daily backups included for up to 30 days. And so here we can view those rollback if we want. So there are daily backups here. This is really nice, one of my favorite features. And so if you want to revert back to an earlier version of your website, or maybe you made a mistake or something else went wrong, it's just really convenient and great for peace of mind that you have backup. A really core feature, I would say. So here on SiteGround, they actually have a daily backup feature for all of these plans, and they keep them for 30 days. All right, so here we have SSL, HTTPS enforce, protected URLs. So if you want to protect, so maybe you have some kind of page where only, let's say, editors on your team should be able to access. So you may want to restrict that particular URL to only those people. We don't want to have those publicly available, let's say. So then they need to use a password perhaps to log in. All right, so sometimes you may get spammed, or there is an issue with you may get attackers or something like that. So you actually can block by IP. If you do want to have a constant monitoring for security aspects like this, they do offer a site scanner here as well for malware, hacks, and data theft. All right, so a bunch of good security tools, I think. Now here in the WordPress dashboard itself, by default, I actually also got this security optimizer plugin, which is also something we get from SiteGround. So this plugin is basically their all-in-one solution for security, and it can do a lot of things like hide your WordPress version, so somebody else cannot just easily find out what kind of WordPress setup you're using. We can disable some other things here as well. So let's actually go to security optimizer here. We have an option for that in the sidebar. Okay, so here actually you can see some of the recent activities, and let's actually go to manage security here. Yeah, so here you can fine tune things. A little bit careful with this. If you don't know exactly what it means, I will just leave the defaults. I think it's nice that we get this out of the box as well. All right, so let's actually go to the speed section here. So there are two options. All right, let's actually talk about the CDN. We already briefly discussed it. So it basically allows you to copy your website over into other locations on Earth as well. So you may have people from the US and you have people from Australia. If you would only have your website in a data center in the US, the people from Australia may experience a slower website. We ideally can copy the website into a data center in Australia as well. So then the people from Australia would get the website served from the data center that is closest to them, and they're going to experience a faster website. So this would traditionally be actually a lot of setup. However, here with SiteGround, you can see for free, we already get a version of this and we can upgrade. So this is actually really nice, and it is no surprise for me that this is a client favorite, because this helps a lot, especially if you have your customers in different locations. I would say even within the same country, because if you live in a large country like the US, there is typically a data center for, let's say, the West Coast and the East Coast. You can speed it up a little bit. Let's talk about caching here as well. So there are actually a couple of different caches here. So there is the Nginx, a dynamic cache, and a mem cache. This is a very technical set of options here. We don't need to know much about it, because there is actually also the speed optimizer here plugin, also from SiteGround here. If we go here to caching, we can see what they actually recommend. Okay, so they actually do recommend to do all of them. So that's something you may want to do here. And there are some other options here for optimizing speed as well. So here under environment, they have HTTPS enforce. So actually it's also an option here in the admin dashboard. So I will do that. Okay. And we have front end here. Let's actually take a look. Yeah, so we want to minify those files that are going to be served to the viewer, so that their browser will download it faster. That is enabled here by default. Okay, the JavaScript files as well. We may want to combine them into one file. So we have some options here as well. Minify the HTML output. So just a bunch of pretty standard optimizations, but it's good that we have it included here. We don't have to even think about it because the default options are pretty good. So for images, this is really important because your website actually, those CSS files and JavaScript files, HTML files, in many cases are not the biggest files. Actually, it's your images, or even if you have videos, these are really going to make a difference in terms of how fast your website feels. If you have PNG, for example, which is like a lossless format, it's typically going to be a very large file. It's going to take a long time, but we can compress that image into a smaller image, for example, WebP format, and it's going to look roughly the same. So you may lose a little bit of quality, but it's hardly noticeable. But in return for that, you get a much smaller image, which is going to load faster. All right, so actually I just converted a PNG image to WebP. So this is a PNG image and this is a WebP image. Can you notice any differences? I can barely see it here. Yeah, in my view, it just almost looks the exact same. But if we take a look at the size of these images, so what your users will actually download on their computer when they go to your website, with the PNG, we get 1.9 megabytes that the user has to download on their computer to see the image, and the WebP is actually only 112 kilobytes. So this is more than a 10x improvement we get in terms of size that needs to be downloaded on the user's computer without materially affecting the quality. So I would be inclined to use WebP images actually. Okay, so it will regenerate WebP images. Okay, so my website, the template was already using some images, so it's going to regenerate them. That's fine with me. So we have some other optimizations here as well. The actual dimensions of the image can also make a big difference. So if you have an image that is 2000 pixels wide, that is a lot of pixels. That may not be necessary for somebody who's accessing your website on a mobile phone, let's say. So you also want to pay attention, not only is it PNG, it's also about the actual dimensions of the image. So there is a bunch of options for that as well, although typically you also want to just pay attention to that as you upload the images. Okay, we can actually do some tests here as well, right? So all of these options for speed, I would say, are good to take a look at. So here we have some options for the actual WordPress instance. We have a staging environment. So this is very beneficial if you're going to make, let's say, a big change. Before you actually just go live with the big change, you want to have a step in between. You want to have a separate environment where you're going to check if everything went all right with the updates, and then yes, if everything went all right, you can promote it to an actual production live version. So this is actually a more sophisticated feature, I would say, but very underrated. So really nice to have this included as well. So we have some options here for migrating websites to auto update, and search and replace as well. Also really underrated option. If you have a lot of text, let's say on your website, and suddenly something needs to be changed, and whatever needs to be changed is on multiple different pages. This is a lot of time and energy to find all of those instances and replace it. So you can actually do a search and replace. So if there is some phrase on my website and I want to replace it, I can do that actually from the dashboard here as well. Really like that feature. All right, let's talk about domain, because I was just using this temporary domain. Of course, I can assign an actual domain I have. There are also subdomains. So if you actually want to have something in front of the website, maybe for your editors, perhaps you want to have a separate subdomain for those. We also have redirects, of course, over time. As your website, you may change the URL of some pages, and so the old links that point to that may not be on other websites, perhaps may not be updated immediately, so you can redirect them to the new page. All right, so we also have the ability to set up email. I'm using a temporary domain here, but I can set up a professional looking email here as well, like info@ and then my actual domain.com. It's all possible here as well. So a lot of these email features are available here. There's an option here for Google Workspace as well. And here we get the statistics. So here, very important, we're going to see how many people visit our website, including how many of them were actually unique. So not just returning people. This is very important over time. This is where you can really make a difference for your business by analyzing the data that you get here. I would say that covers most of this in this dashboard that we see here. But overall, I think you can see that it's a very powerful set of options, and it basically allows us to fine-tune our digital presence in almost any way that we would want. But a lot of the options do have sensible defaults, I think. So it's not like you have to change a bunch of things immediately when you get in here, unless you really know what you're doing. Okay, so that's the second website that I just showed you. Here I can also do some other things like relocate to a different data center perhaps. I can manage users. So this is really important if you are collaborating with other people. So you may have other people on your team, let's say, or you may have a client and they want to log in themselves. So there are two options here. So there's a so-called collaborator. This is a user with access to that same dashboard here in SiteGround that we just took a look at. They have their own SiteGround account and they're not going to log into your account. This is recommended for developers, designers, or others to collaborate on your team. So this is like everyone who is not a client of yours. They actually have a client role here as well. This is a user who gets a more white labeled version of the site tool. So it's going to feel more perhaps branded to your own business as an agency or freelancer. This is recommended if you are a reseller and wish to give your client the site tools not branded as SiteGround. Okay, so it does require some particular plan. It shows also that you can get much more sophisticated, right? So it's not just about setting up one simple website. If you are growing and you are a freelancer or agency or reseller, you have more sophisticated options here as well, right? So here I can add users and I can pick what kind of role they have. If I have somebody on my team, I have a copywriter, let's say, and I can add them here, use their email. Or if I have a client wants to do things by themselves, we can add a new user here and assign them the client role. All right, now one of my favorite features of SiteGround is they actually have really good customer support as well. You know, we have all of these options in the dashboard and it's typically pretty easy to understand how it all works, but it's possible that at some point you do actually have an issue and you do need to talk to somebody. So it's nice if you have a provider that actually makes that easy and has high quality customer support. So of course there are a bunch of default question Q&A, basically a bunch of default answers, and there are some AI features here, but at some point I do want to have the option to actually contact a human being, right? If I do have a question, I can go through the options here and I can go to something like this didn't work for me, and at some point I can actually go to a chat here, and I can say hello to a website temporary domain, right? So this is what we did here. So now if I try to chat here, let's see how fast we are going to get a customer support team member. All right, and literally within a minute or so, I have somebody here to talk to and actually help me out here. And here I have my answer. Took me about a minute or so. To get an answer to my question with a real human, not an AI. So yeah, I had a good time testing out the customer support as well. So that is why SiteGround is my favorite WordPress hosting provider. You can check their website with the link in the description. You can see they have web hosting, cloud hosting, reseller hosting for WordPress, for WooCommerce, a website builder, domains, email marketing. It's an all-in-one platform with great customer support. So I would say check them out. You can find a link in the description. In any case, I want to thank SiteGround for sponsoring the video, and I want to thank you for watching. Hopefully this helps you out with your web hosting journey. Have a nice day, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye.